So it had been a little while now since I ventured out into the backcountry with my bike and did some solo camping. I was really looking forward to getting away from it all for a couple of days, and I also had a couple of new lights to try out. So I packed everything up on my bike and took off, heading to the north central Florida backcountry. I had everything I needed to spend a night comfortably in the woods. Actually, I had way more than I needed. I didn't weigh my bike, but if I had to guess, it probably weighed somewhere around 70 to 75 pounds with all the stuff I had on it. I started off at my home in town and rode about 13 miles on the road until we got to one of our local trails, which is where the off-road portion of the trip began. It was late in the afternoon and I was running out of daylight, which is perfect and just how I like it for a ride like this. Darkness came pretty quickly and I soon found myself riding the single track among the crickets. After about 8 or 9 miles of winding and flowing single track, the next part of the ride was a long gravel road that goes through some wide open wilderness areas. By this time it was after 10 o'clock at night and the moon was coming up behind me. After being on gravel roads for some time, I got off the somewhat beaten path and onto one much less traveled. I rode well into the night until I got to the general area where I planned to stop for the night, which was about 47 miles from where I began. I searched the immediate area for a few minutes looking for a good location to set up my camp, and I decided that this would be a very good spot. It was well after midnight by now, so I didn't waste any time starting to get my camp set up. The first order of business was to get some area light going so I could see what I was doing more easily. Two comfort amenities that I brought with me were an ultralight chair and an ultralight table, and so I proceeded to set those up next. Having these are great, as it sure beats having to sit and place your belongings on the ground. The mosquitoes were out in full force, but I really wasn't affected because I had armed myself with some good quality insect repellent. With lights up, chair and table assembled, the next order of business was to set up my shelter for the night. With that out of the way, I changed my clothes and then turned my attention to getting something to eat. Dinner for the night consisted of a can of chunky soup, a small orange, and a small avocado. With dinner done, a little cleanup was in order. I retired for the night right after that. It was after 3 o'clock in the morning. The following morning I awoke to a bright, clear morning and to the usual forest sounds of birds and insects chirping off in the distance. Breakfast consisted of almost the same stuff I had for dinner the night before. Another can of chunky soup, another small orange, but this time I had a small apple instead of an avocado.
Hey, this time I want to let you know about Vaunt. Vaunt is a maker of practical low-cost LED lighting products, and they are sponsoring this video. Huge thanks to them for that. Vaunt makes LED bike lights. You can see the lights on my bike. They've been supplied by Vaunt. Also headband lights, like the one you saw, like this. And also LED lanterns. The lights you see that are lighting up my campsite are LED lanterns from Vaunt. So huge thanks to Vaunt for supporting this little project. There's some information in the description below, including a couple of links if you're interested in checking out their products and maybe making a purchase. If you decide to purchase something, there's a 10% off coupon code there as well. So once again, huge thanks to Vaunt for supporting this.
With breakfast done, it was time to start packing up all the gear and getting ready for the ride back.
All right, I'm ready to go here, all packed up and ready to hit the trail for the next segment. Got some garbage here that I need to get rid of.
And without further ado, I began the nearly 50-mile ride back. I took a slightly different route on the first part of the ride back, which added some rarely ridden but very scenic single track. A few sections of the trail proved to be a little bit of an additional challenge with the heavily loaded bike. Other sections were pretty easy and smooth sailing. After several sections of trail which lasted for quite a few miles, I was back on gravel roads for a while. And then some more trail. This would be the last off-road segment of the ride before hitting the pavement for the final few miles home. At this point, I was back in civilization with about 13 miles of easy riding left to go. And I made it.